Oh, the camera looks different today. Oh, it's bigger.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
wider.
they
It's
must
much
have
wider.
updated YouTube.
Yeah, it
Anyway.
looks wider. Yeah, you get to see much more. Hey, guys.
Hey.
How are you doing? We just noticed that the camera is much wider now, so you guys get to see more of the background and less of us because things. I may actually just move that while you tell people who we are.
Yeah, okay. So if you are meeting us for the first time, this is Robin, who's just playing with the camera right now, and I'm Laura, and together with the team behind BackpackerGuide.NZ, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. It's basically a whole free online Bible for anything about traveling in New Zealand. But on top of that, we also do these live Q&A sessions every single Sunday, so you guys can come here on YouTube and ask your questions about traveling in New Zealand. And just to give you a bit of a sort of reminder of what those times are around the world, we have our trusty little board here. So it is every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, which is also 4 p.m. EST in the US or 12 p.m. PST in the US, and that's on a Saturday. In Europe, UK and France, that's either 9 p.m. on a Saturday evening or 22 hours as the 2200 hours in France. And in India, that is at 1:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. So throughout the week, we do gather questions that you guys have been asking us, and we can answer them for you on this live Q&A session as well. So if you do have any questions throughout the week, make sure you add them to the comments of any of our YouTube videos. You can also send us private messages on Facebook, which you can just find us at BackpackerGuide.NZ. You can also send us a private message on Twitter, which is at BackpackerGuide.NZ. And, and you can mention us on Twitter, which is at BPKGuide.
All right, so you've got plenty of chances to send us your questions, but if you are live right now, you can use the live chat and just go live straight away, ask your question, tell us about your itineraries, tell us about the activities you want to do in New Zealand, and just pick our brain. Just to give you a bit of an idea of what we've done in New Zealand, Laura and I have done a combined over 600 activities around the country already. We've been all around the country many times. We took almost every kind of tours you can consider. So we've done a lot. So if you do have any question, make sure to ask. And this is kind of why we consider ourselves as the experts of New Zealand. All right. Speaking of experts, we are going to be picking Laura's expert brain with our first question, which comes from Jamie Ferdinandus. Okay, I'm going to start again. The first question of the day comes from Jamie Ferdinandus, and he says, "Hi, where is the best ski resort for beginners on the South Island? We will be on the South Island in June. Thanks." All right, so the South Island of New Zealand is the part of New Zealand that has the most ski fields. There are some really famous ski fields on the North Island, especially in Mount Ruapehu. That's basically the one area on the North Island when you ski, but most people associate the South Island with skiing in New Zealand. Now, the really good thing about New Zealand ski season is that it's literally in summer for the Northern Hemisphere. So if you are in the US, in Canada, or in France, in Germany, anywhere in Europe, you basically are used to go skiing, between, let's say, November and February, something like that. That's the peak of the season. What the great thing about that, right?
Yeah.
In Europe, right? But in New Zealand, the great thing is that you can ski very well, and you have some really good ski from, I'd say August. I mean July sometimes, but I'd say August to like October.
End of September, October.
Yeah. So we have like 2 really good months of skiing, and that allows people which are really crazy about skiing to come to New Zealand and basically, if they keep on turning around the world, they can ski all year round, which is pretty awesome. So South Island is basically the place you want to be if you want to ski. There are, I think, 25 or something like that.
There's 24 ski fields in total in the whole of New Zealand.
Okay, so that's probably about 22 in the South Island. So there is plenty there. And the question right now is the ski fields for beginners, because it's true there are some ski fields in New Zealand like Craigieburn, which are pretty rough, pretty tough, and so they are clearly not for beginners. So, Laura, you're the ski expert. Which one are you recommending if you're beginning? If you're beginner in skiing and you just want to try it for the first time in New Zealand?
So if you are a beginner, the best sort of ski field to go to is one of those really large commercial ski fields. As Robin was saying, there are these smaller ski fields like Craigieburn and Temple Basin and stuff like that, but they are really they're really for the experts. So the best thing to do is to go for those large commercial ski fields, which have all the ski lifts, they have ski schools, they have like beginners areas, and that is the best place to go and learn. So I'll just go over some of the ski fields which are those big commercial ski fields. So the largest ski field in the South Island is Treble Cone, and this has all the facilities which you need for beginner skiing. So they do all the rentals, they have ski school like lessons and stuff like that. So as it is the biggest sort of ski field, and if you actually do have a little bit of experience behind you, that is a good one to go to basically explore a huge terrain and have an awesome time up there. And Treble Cone is near the town of Wanaka, which is sort of in the south of the South Island. Another really awesome one to go to is the Remarkables, which is close to the town of Queenstown. I think everyone's probably heard of Queenstown. It's sort of known for the winter season in New Zealand. It's kind of like the bustling ski field town. And in my personal opinion, the best ski field near Queenstown is the Remarkables. And again, they have an awesome beginners area. They have really easy sort of lifts, which is like a little conveyor belt to take you up. So you don't even need to worry about falling off chair lifts, even if you're a beginner, because they have some really nice beginner friendly
Can you stand?
There.
If you can stand, you can go up. That is pretty good. That's pretty good.
But you will progress pretty quickly if you do, stick at it for a couple of days, and then you'll be on those big chairlifts and exploring a really cool area. And that whole area around there, the mountains, is absolutely stunning. Okay, next up is Cardrona, which is a ski field sort of in between Queenstown and Wanaka. It's sort of it's on the Cardrona Valley Road, so you can base yourself in either one of those towns. And Cardrona is a really popular ski field. It's got a gondola there, which is one of those big sort of lifts that you stand on, so you don't have to worry about getting off the chairlift with your snowboard. If you are a beginner, that's usually the power you fall over the most. And Cardrona has some really good cafes and stuff up there as well. So you can have a really awesome day up in the mountains at Cardrona. But in a different area of the South Island, another really cool large ski field is Mount Hutt. And this is about 2 hours drive away from Christchurch. And the nearest town to Mount Hutt is a little town called Methven. And again, large commercial ski field, rental gear is available, ski school is available. The only downside to Mount Hutt is that it is known for having a lot of closed days. So if you have only plans to go up for one day, then maybe, don't have your hopes up 100%. It might be closed. Maybe plan for a few days up there where you can get at least one good weather day to go skiing. Finally,
I just want to say that Mount Hutt. Mount Hutt is basically the closest one to Christchurch as well. So I thought you said Methven.
I said Christchurch.
Sorry. So what I just want to say that in the weekends, if the weather is really good, it can get really busy because everybody flocks to there. So it's just something to keep in mind for Mount Hutt. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't know you said it.
Yeah. You pretend to listen, but
I did. I actually was.
I hope you guys are at least listening. Anyway, the final one I'll mention is sort of toward the north of the South Island near Nelson, and this is the Rainbow Ski Field. And this is a much smaller ski field in the South Island, but it is kind of like a hidden gem. It's a little bit less well known, but it does have all those facilities of a large ski field. So it does have like ski lessons, it has all the good chairlifts and stuff like that. So I really consider the Rainbow Ski Field as like a hidden gem, and if you do go there, it's usually a lot quieter than the other ski fields. So that's definitely worth considering as well. And I think that's about it.
All right, so to recap, we had Treble Cone, Remarkables, Cardrona, Mount Hutt, and a Rainbow Ski Field. That should give you a good selection right here to enjoy skiing in the South Island if you are a beginner. Obviously, if you are a pro, you would still have some fun in those ski fields. Let's be honest. There is enough for everybody in all those ski fields. But if you're really a die-hard fan, you may want to try some of those crazies, temple basins, for example.
Temple Basin, for example, like you actually have to hike for an hour to even get to the ski field. There's not even a car park that goes there. And they have a name, these sort of ski fields called Nutcracker style ski fields. I basically, because it cracks your nuts, I guess, got to get there. But yeah.
I think it's more like traditional from the Nutcracker. I don't know. All right, cool. So if you guys have some questions of your own, put them in the comment below. If you are currently watching this live, put your questions in the live chat. We're here to help you out. And if you find this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe. It always helps us out. And, you know, there are thousands of people liking and subscribing this channel, so they can't be wrong, right? You should join them.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So good morning, Shirley. What time is it for you, my dear? For us, it is pretty early in the morning. And the weather was pretty atrocious all night long, to be honest. It was a big storm, so we had a pretty short night, but it looks like it's clearing up, so that's pretty good.
That's the New Zealand weather for you, I guess.
New Zealand weather, super changeable.
Yeah.
All right, should we keep going with some questions we already have?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we have Isabella Drew on Instagram. She says, hi there. I saw on your YouTube channel that you've been to both Fox and Franz Josef Glacier when you were in New Zealand. We still are in New Zealand. If you don't mind me asking, which one did you like the most? I know that Franz Josef is the most popular, but we want to do a heli hike with good photo opportunities, great sceneries, blue ice caves, not too crowded, and with the most value for money. Some advice will be very much appreciated. All right, so this is the question that we get really often. Like, which one is the best glacier hike? We know that it's probably one of the most expensive activities that you're going to be doing in New Zealand. It's around $400 at the moment. Yeah. So per person. So it gets really pricey, but it is absolutely amazing. And it's, you know, sadly, the glaciers are receding very fast. So it's something that may not be available 10 years from now. So obviously, almost everybody coming to New Zealand, especially to the South Island, because all the commercial glaciers are on the South Island, they want to know which one is the best. And right here, Isabella asked between Franz and Fox Glacier, which are both on the West Coast, but we actually be comparing Tasman Glacier as well, which is one of the really popular one as well in the South Island. It's a really long one, and we really think it's a really good contender. Yeah. So let's get started with Franz Josef Glacier, which, as Isabella mentioned, is by very far, the most popular glacier in New Zealand. Laura, tell us about the Franz Josef Glacier.
Yeah, so the main reason Franz Josef Glacier is the most popular is because it was the first glacier that, you know, started doing heli hikes and hiking tours onto. It's been around for years and years and years, and it's basically the one that everyone's heard about. But yeah, with that, there's actually quite a lot of tour companies that do heli hikes onto the Franz Josef Glacier, a lot more than the other glaciers in New Zealand. So if you're looking for something a little less crowded, Franz Josef sort of has the reputation of being a little less intimate. So although you are just going with your one tour group up onto the glacier, you can see a few other tour groups around when you are looking around the glacier. And there is a lot of helicopter traffic going up ahead. So just bear that in mind for Franz Josef Glacier. But nevertheless, you still sort of feel like you often do feel like you are alone on the glacier because you are just with your tour group. You're going through sort of deep crevasses. So, you know, there's often times where you are just surrounded by ice. You're just following your guide on a trail that the guide is basically making for you. And the thing to note with any of the glacier tours in New Zealand is that no two tours are the same. The glaciers are always changing, and the different routes they take you on the glacier is always going to be different. So you're going to be seeing different things all the time, whether it's ice caves or going through sort of narrow tunnels and stuff like that. Or even just walking along the surface of the glacier. It's different every time. So it is hard to say like, oh yeah, this glacier has this and this glacier has that. But yeah, Franz Josef is definitely the most popular one to get to. It's super accessible. You just rock up at Franz Josef Glacier town, go to the base of whichever company you choose to go to. They get you in a helicopter, which literally takes about 10 minutes to go and land onto the glacier. And the views are absolutely incredible as you are flying over to the glacier. Glacier. But yeah, that's basically what Franz Josef Glacier is. It's obviously the most busiest one, but it has some of the best priced tours, I think. They're a little bit cheaper, just to bear in mind that the prices of each of the Glacier tours are all around $400 mark. But yeah, I think they're just like a tiny bit cheaper than elsewhere if budget is what you have in mind.
Yeah, another thing I would say for Franz Josef Glacier is that the advantage that it has, because it's the most popular, the town is a little bit more developed. So if the weather basically shuts all the flight down there, you still have some options. You can go to the pools, you can go to the Kiwi Wildlife Center. There is quite a few things to do around, so it gives you a bit of an option.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that isn't a point I made, actually, is that the weather at Franz Josef Glacier.
There you go.
So the weather at Franz Josef Glacier, this is actually the glacier known to have the most sort of closed days, which is basically when the weather is too cloudy or too rainy or too windy for helicopters to go up there and basically for you to do your heli hike. So there is a greater chance of your tour getting moved back or cancelled at Franz Josef Glacier. So do bear that in mind.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Fox Glaciers then. Do you have another point?
No, I think that's everything.
All right, so Fox Glacier is the second most popular glacier in New Zealand. It's located 30 minutes south of Franz Josef.
Yeah, very short drive.
Like, obviously, it depends how you drive. We always drive really slow because we're filming all the time. But yeah, so it's about 30-minute drive below Fox Glacier, south of Fox Glacier, Franz Josef Glacier, sorry about that. So Fox Glacier is located 30 minutes south of Franz Josef Glacier. Now, the good thing about its location is that if the weather shuts down Franz Josef Glacier, very often Fox Glacier is still open. So that's your great backup option if you want to go there. Now, Fox Glacier only has one company that operates on the glacier, so that means that you only have one choice, and it is a little bit more expensive because there is less competition to go through. But you literally just walk up right from the highway, you park at the Fox Glacier Guide base, and they take you from there. It's very simple. It's like unmissable, basically, so which is always quite good. Now, the glacier itself is quite interesting because the glacier doesn't go down straight. It actually goes down in a bit of a bend. And because it goes down in a bit of a bend, it actually breaks the ice quite early on in the glacier. And where you do the hike is after where you do the heli hike is after the bend, meaning that it is probably the glacier that offers the most ice cave and the most kind of those kind of deep blue pictures that you're going to be able to get. So it's kind of an interesting glacier to visit for sure. Now, the other thing is that compared to Franz Josef glaciers that had many operators operating with a lot of helicopter passing by, well, you only have one company. So if you hear a helicopter, it is yours. So it definitely feels a little bit more of an intimate tour to visit the Fox Glacier over there. So we've done the Fox Glacier as well as the Franz Josef glaciers, and we have a video about it. If you guys want to check it out, it's quite an amazing experience. There is ice cave. There is big, massive, super desolated land. It feels quite amazing. And the valley itself is also really, really amazing. Now, the one thing that I will point out for Fox Glacier, though, is that the glacier, because there is the bend, it changes even more than Franz Josef Glacier. So when Laura says there is no two of the same, it will be the same. It will be even more true in Fox Glacier. Because of the bend, there is so many different stuff. So it's quite amazing to see that it looks stand still as a glacier, right? But it changes so much. It's quite incredible. So Fox Glacier is also a really good option. Now, right now, we're kind of more describing and giving you the pros and cons of them. And then at the end of the video, we obviously will pick which one we prefer most, but we want you to have all the information you can. And so in the spirit of that, check out the videos as well that we have linked in the description below for that. But before that, let's move on to the Tasman Glacier, which is New Zealand's longest glacier.
Yeah, so the Tasman Glacier is located in the Mount Cook National Park, which is on the east coast of the South Island. So you do have to travel, in comparison to where the West Coast glaciers are, you have to travel all the way down the West Coast, across a mountain pass, and all the way back up the East Coast. So it's located quite far away from the West Coast glaciers, but it provides an alternative option for heli hiking on a glacier in New Zealand, on the side of the South Island, which actually has some of the best weather. So you are more likely to get a day where your tour isn't going to get cancelled if you do a heli hike on the Tasman Glacier. So that's a definite plus for the glacier on that side. Another awesome thing about the Tasman Glacier is that, yes, it is the longest glacier in New Zealand, but it's also right underneath New Zealand's highest mountain, which is Aoraki Mount Cook, and all the other like super high mountains like Mount Tasman, and you're in a huge glacier valley as well. So the whole environment is super stunning. But the thing that with the Tasman Glacier is that it's actually a lot different looking than Fox Glacier and Franz Josef Glacier. The landscape is a lot flatter, but you may still find some caves on your glacier tour. So definitely when we did the tour, we were climbing through some ice caves.
So crawling even, not just climbing, we were crawling.
Yeah, we were squeezing our way through some tunnels.
Got you watch this video, it was like a really tight fit.
Yeah, but I do understand that actually that isn't always the case for the Tasman Glacier. So it really depends on what the glaciers are doing on that day, basically. But again, there's only 2 tour operators that go onto the Tasman Glacier, and yeah, you don't ever see another tour up there. It's just super like tranquil, serene. There's no one else around. You can hear avalanches happening around you as well,
that's true, yeah.
Echoing through the valley. It's like you're absolutely alone in this amazing glacial valley. So it's definitely an amazing experience as well. That if you don't get a chance to do it on the West Coast, or even if you are not even planning to go to the West Coast, you can still get that amazing glacier experience on the East Coast at Aoraki Mount Cook National Park. And I think that's all I got to say for the Tasman Glacier. Do you have anything else to add? Or?
Yeah, so then we are going to be picking which one is our favorite, like our personal, that's definitely our personal opinion. So I personally think that I really enjoyed Tasman Glacier most, just because the sheer scale of it. It was absolutely amazing when arriving there. Now, the reason why I think I like Tasman Glacier most is because I was lucky enough to do all the other one as well. And therefore, I couldn't really compare them. And then I was just mind blown by the sheer size of it. I think that if I would only have done the only one I've done twice actually is Fox Glacier. That I done a long time ago, and then I've done right now, and I literally loved it. And I kept on saying that Fox Glacier was my favorite kind of activity to do in New Zealand until I did Tasman, just because, it's just I got lucky to do all of them. So if I have to pick one, I pick Tasman Glacier. Which one would you pick?
I think I would go for Franz Josef Glacier, and it's just such a varied tour. At least it was when we went on it. We were going through, there was some ice caves there. We were also going through these really narrow sort of crevasses. There was some really awesome photo opportunities with that bright blue ice as well. And yeah, just the whole valley around it was absolutely stunning. And we went with Franz Josef Glacier guiding. So even the beginning of this tour, we had to do a little bit of a bushwalk to get to the helicopter pad. So it sort of had lots of different components to the tour, which is really cool. And it was actually the first glacier that I went on in New Zealand, so I guess it had that wow factor as well. Being like the first time you go to a glacier is just unforgettable. So that's why I picked that.
All right, so I hope that this was helpful to you, Isabella, and to anyone else that is watching this video. If you guys have any extra questions, in the comments below, like and subscribe if you find this useful. All right, let's go to live chat. We have Shirley, which is asking us a question about being a barista in Wellington or Auckland. We'll get to that a little bit in a second. Raoul, you're asking us about studying law in New Zealand. We have no idea. I mean, we're a travel channel here, man. So check out what we think about Auckland and other cities and see if you like the city or not. But we won't be able to advise you in which one will be the best law school in the country, that's for sure. Jersey Perez is saying, good morning, cloudy this morning, Auckland. Yeah, it is pretty awful weather today. I agree with you. We're still doing some outdoors activities because we miss your outdoor adventures. Oh, that's really nice. Well, we've done a lot on camera, that's for sure. But yes, we definitely still do that. Actually, Laura and I are still pretty sore right now because we've done a really steep hike only a couple of days ago. So it broke us in half. That's for sure. So yeah, we definitely do that. We obviously mostly just take pictures now. We don't necessarily film all of it. We actually have the idea of doing some more kind of videos about some adventures, but we're toying around with the idea. Right now, we find out that a lot of people were having a lot of questions about traveling in New Zealand, what to do when and where and everything like that. So it felt more appropriate to kind of switch a little bit more to answering people's questions. Because, well, you know, it's kind of like we acquired all the knowledge. Now it's kind of like time to share the knowledge. If we just keep on showing off, like, hey, look, we're doing this. Hey, look, we're doing that. It's a bit, you know. So that's kind of our train of thought. But it's really nice to hear that you miss our outdoors adventures. I hope that you are having some of your own. What's the last few things that you've done around Auckland? Tell us. By the way, if you're in Auckland, you know that we're having a beer pretty soon. If you check out our Facebook page, we actually have an event where we I think it's on the 7th. Yeah, it's on not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. We're having a beer with everybody. So join us then. So you go on our Facebook page, check out the event. We basically have a beer with a bunch of travelers, and everybody that watched the channel or is on our Facebook or anything like that. So join us. That'd be cool to meet you, Jersey Perez. Here you go. I promise in person I will mess up your name as well, because
that's a guarantee if you come and join us for a beer.
I am terrible with names. I am absolutely awful. All right, and we also have AliExpress, which speaks half English and half French. So bonjour. Glad to hear that you like our videos, and glad to hear that you're about to come to New Zealand.
Cool.
All right. So Shirley, we're just going to go quickly over this one, but Shirley is asking. Working as a barista in Auckland or Wellington is better? So we actually did answer this question not that long ago.
Yeah, a lot of people want to be baristas.
Yeah, the very same question. So Laura, being a barista, Auckland or Wellington?
I personally would choose Wellington just because it has a much more of a sort of coffee culture scene. Of course, we are comparing two of like some of the biggest cities in New Zealand. So of course, both of them have a lot of opportunities for working in cafes and stuff like that. But Wellington's kind of like, if you are really passionate about coffee, Wellington does have some really good cafes. They have some proper like coffee, how do you pronounce it, roasters there as well that actually make like coffee beans and stuff for around the country and stuff like that. So if you want to learn, dive deeper into that sort of coffee culture and coffee work, then there's a lot more opportunity in Wellington for that. Whereas in Auckland, it's more about, just cafes.
Yeah. What's the name of that roaster that we did visit doing that tour in Auckland?
There was the one. Oh, it's kind of
like a guy that they roast their own coffee. They do everything themselves.
I think they were called like Millies or something.
Oh yeah, Millies. Yeah. So if you're in Auckland and you're really into coffees, find Millies. Millies. So Shirley, you've got to try that. That's for sure. Anyway, I agree with Laura. It would be Wellington. We actually have a video about that already. So if you check in the channel, you will find like where to be a barista in New Zealand. And
yeah.
Cool. So let's move on to another question. It's actually about outdoors, so that's very cool. All right, so Django, I'm just going to pick it up. Django F on Facebook says, hello, I'm about to go to NZ and do a few long hikes. The problem I have is that I do not know anybody in the country. So do you have any tips on how to stay safe and tell someone where I am? So first up, let me just praise you for actually wanting to stay safe. That is a good thing.
Yeah,
like a lot of people
smart.
Just kind of like, that is smart.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I'll be all right. And then this is when the chopper kind of...
I was just thinking that then is when the helicopter comes out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really good that you want to be safe. So now I'm just going to preface by saying that the emergency number in New Zealand is 111. You will be surprised by how easily you're going to get a cell phone network. There are obviously a lot of remote places in New Zealand where you won't have a network, and a lot of hike you won't have network. But it's quite surprising. Like quite often you just go on top of a mountain and you end up having network.
I got signal here.
Yeah. Actually, the last hike we did, Laura and I, like 2 days ago, we arrived on top of the mountain absolutely exhausted. I wasn't about to call the helicopter, but I just checked my phone because I was taking a couple of pictures and posting on Facebook and stuff. And I actually had network, which was very surprising to me. So you'll be surprised at that. So the emergency phone number is 111. Now you want to know how to tell someone your plans. And that's quite funny because it's actually the motto of an agency in New Zealand, which is called Adventure Smart, which is tell someone your plan. but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now, the simplest way to tell someone your plan is to use your phone and send a text to safe. So it's 7233. So if on your phone you send a text to 7233, I won't do it right now, but yeah, you say where you're going, what's your travel direction, where you currently are, just a couple of information. This is a database that the police keeps in case of an emergency. So if they look for you, they will actually look through this database to see if you did send a text. So again, sending a text to say where you are and what your travel direction basically is the best thing to do. So it's 7233, and it's on your phone. It literally spells safe, so it's very easy. And yeah, so it's definitely the best thing to do. Now, once you send a text, you're going to receive a confirmation message, kind of a confirmation message saying, if you are in danger, call 111 right now. Don't call 111. It's literally just acknowledging that your query has basically been lodged. So if you don't appear or anything like that, well, basically this is where they're going to be looking first to see if there is a trace of your trip. The other thing that you can be doing to tell people what is your plan is to use the Adventure Smart website. So on the Adventure Smart website, there is a form which is very easy to find. You just click on the form and you fill it up, and you are able to lodge what's going to be your trip, what's going to be your adventure, where you're going, who you're going with. You can even put what you packed, so people they literally know what to look for. So something really smart that would do in the text as well as in on the Adventure Smart website that would say, well, I have a bright red jacket and a bright blue backpack. Just something, so when they found a bright red jacket, they're like, okay, I'm on the right trail, if you're really that lost, which, you won't, but just in case, it's pretty smart. So on the Adventure Smart website, so I think it's adventuresmart.co.nz, but either or, we will put it in the description below. You fill up the form and you do that. So if you do the text to 7233, and if you do the form on the Adventure Smart website, you should be covered and someone will know where you are. And you can use that as often as you want. There's no problem with that. There's no cost in using that, so you're going to be all good. Now, the best thing to do is not to get lost, not to get stranded, and not to run into trouble. And for that, we do have a few outdoor kind of safety tips. Yeah. And Laura is going to get us started.
All right. First of all, you want to keep an eye on the weather. Like, you have heard us say a lot that the weather does change every 2 seconds in New Zealand. But
does it?
Yeah.
How many seasons is there in one day?
Well, apparently there's 4 seasons in one day in New Zealand. So yeah, it's hard to judge the weather. But if you are about to do sort of a hike in maybe an alpine area, somewhere a little bit where it could be dangerous if the weather turns bad, or you could get super cold if it's an exposed area, for example, then if you check the weather beforehand and it looks like it's going to be either super windy or really rainy or snowy, then obviously maybe it's a good idea to make some other plans and not go on that hike. So that's obviously a good way to not get yourself into trouble. But also, like I just said, because the weather is always very changeable, it's a very good idea to be prepared with all the right gear in your backpack. Make sure that you have wet weather gear. Even not just a rain jacket, but you can even get some rainproof trousers. You can make sure you have some waterproof hiking shoes as well, and make sure that you have extra layers to keep yourself warm. If it's super sunny at the beginning of the hike, the weather can still change, and yeah, you don't want to set off on any hike in just your shorts and t-shirt and not have any other backup. That would be an absolute no-no. And also make sure that you have all the sort of right gears in terms of having snacks in your backpack. Make sure that you have enough water as well. Usually when we go on our day hikes and stuff, we actually fill up a full 3-liter bottle or camelback. And
we don't just fill it up, we actually do drink it. We end up with it almost empty every time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's per person as well. And whatever you do, don't think it's going to be too much to carry, because you really get used to that weight anyway, and it's definitely worth having all that extra stuff in your backpack just in case. Also, when you are planning which trail you're going to be hiking on, make sure that you do actually some research on the trail and see if you actually have, the right ability to do it. Some of the tracks in New Zealand are tramping tracks, or could be like all uphill, or could be kind of rough trails. And, you need to really know your own abilities. And if you completely run out of stamina, or, you just get super tired and you can't go on, you get a little bit stuck, then, that's not an ideal scenario. So make sure that you can actually do the track that you're planning on doing. Do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, terrain. Did you talk about terrain already?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, terrain. Make sure that you're aware of what kind of terrain you're going to encounter during your hike. A lot of people just underestimate how steep it's going to be, how rocky it's going to be, how swampy it's going to be, how sandy it's going to be, just all those kind of factors. So just research a little bit the track beforehand. The Department of Conservation website has a lot of information on it. So make sure you check this one out. And also pair that with knowing your own abilities. Know what you're capable of. If this is your first hike and you think that you can hike in your little Asics running shoes, well, just go for like a short, 4 hours hike and just stick to that for the beginning. Try it and see if you can do more. Be aware of your own abilities. Don't overestimate that because of all those changing things, terrain, because the terrain can change as well. If it starts snowing, for example, which does happen. It did happen to me once where I started a hike normally and then it started snowing, which is a big difference. Be aware of those kind of things as well. Obviously, packing the right gear, you covered that.
Yeah.
If you get lost on a hike, number one thing to do, stand still. Do not start running around. Do not try to find your path. Stand still and assess the situation. If you are not 100% sure how to backtrack, stay where you are, find yourself a bit of a shelter, and stay there until the storm passes or something passes. If you know exactly 100% sure how to backtrack, you backtrack until the last either orange sign arrows that you've seen. It happened to us literally a couple of days ago. So you backtrack until the last orange arrow, and then from there you try to locate where is the next orange arrow, and then you move toward there. And it's from one orange arrow to the other. That's the sign marking.
And just on top of that, it is the orange arrows that you're following on hikes, which do have those orange arrows, because some hikes are so easy that they have the trail very well marked. But if you are going on a little bit of a rougher trail, then orange arrows will tell you where to go. Don't follow any different other colored arrows. Like there's blue arrows, for instance, which will take you to where pest traps are and go, they're more for the conservation workers of the area.
Orange arrow, and you follow usually the point in the right direction. So when the arrow is like that, that means you have to go there. Yeah. I mean, not up, but, forward.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. And finally, water safety. If you are about to enter the water or to do anything with water, if you go to a remote beach for surfing or anything like that, here's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind.
Yeah, so if you're unsure of if you can actually go swimming somewhere, then it's usually a better idea to just don't go swimming. There's a lot of rivers and stuff in New Zealand, which, they can have some hidden currents and things like that. And also a lot of rip currents from the beaches in New Zealand, and particularly on the west coast of New Zealand, the currents are a lot stronger there. So yeah, make sure that, you know that it's safe to swim somewhere before you actually go and do that. It's also a good idea to not swim or surf alone. Make sure that you have someone else with you, so that if anything does go wrong, then you can, they'll be there to help you. In summer, a lot of the popular beaches around New Zealand have flags and a lifeguard. So that is, when that's a safe place to swim. Swim between the flags and you should be all good. I've already mentioned about rips and currents. There's a lot of rips and currents on many of the beaches around New Zealand, so don't just sort of swim anywhere, because there is a risk of that. And if you are traveling with kids, obviously make sure you keep an eye on the kids when they're swimming, and just at all times as well, make sure that they're safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, I have to say that was a very smart question. I think that was a very, very clever question. But yeah, this is everything you need to know to be safe kind of when you go on one of those multi-day hikes. If you do have any questions of your own, in the comments below, in the live chat right now, and otherwise you can find us on Facebook and anything. And obviously, if you find that useful, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot.
Yeah.
All right, going back to live chat. AliExpress is asking which month will be the best to visit a lot of things, city, mountains, monuments. Every month is pretty good, but if you do have to pick one, I would say September. It's when the weather starts becoming nicer. It's before the crowds arrive. So September will be your best. And what would be an estimated budget for 2 weeks? Again, it really depends on what you do. We have a lot of videos about the weather in New Zealand, so you should check that out for the best month. We also have our take on like which one is the best month for that. We also have our take on budget, how much does it cost to travel around New Zealand. But if I were to say for 2 weeks and I have to pick a figure, I would say 4,000 New Zealand dollars. That should be a good number. And Margarita Mama says, aloha from Oahu, Hawaii. Ooh, the big island. Hello. I've been enjoying all your NZ videos. Thank you. Coming to New Zealand for the first time, the first week of June, staying in Wellington. Will it be cold? Also, what hotel would you recommend? So now we actually have 2 videos about the weather in June, Margarita Mama. So if you want to check that out, you will know all the weather. But yeah, it won't be the warmest, that's for sure. Especially compared to Hawaii.
I was going to say it's the first month of winter, so you're going to definitely want to bring some warm layers.
And some rain jacket. It is going to be raining as well in June. So
and in Wellington, it's known for being the windiest city. One of the windiest cities in the world, so that usually adds to the chill factor. So it's probably going to be pretty cold in Wellington. Yeah.
So now, if you also ask what are the best hotel that we recommend. If you want to go on BackpackerGuide.NZ and then you look on accommodation, and we also have our recommendations, so you can check out all the kind of the budget kind of hotel recommendations. You can go on there. But if you want to ask me about the best hotel, like the actual hotel, there are actually some really good choice. Obviously, Intercontinental, it's always a really good one. It's a high standard, always like super famous. There is a Regis as well. Regis is same thing, always really, really popular. I'm pretty sure you have Regis in Hawaii, and there is also a DoubleTree, which is actually by the Hilton, so that's also a really good one. All of those, they're going to range between $250 a night to down to probably $180. You could get about $180, maybe $160 at this time of the year because it's the low season. So so check out our website. So again, it's BackpackerGuide.NZ, and if you go on accommodation, then hostel recommendation. Sorry about that, North Island, and then check what we say about Wellington. Click on the link to see some of the hotel, and check out what they have to offer. And otherwise, as I said, Regis, Intercontinental, and DoubleTree should be some really good options for you. Margarita Mama, I like that name.
Yeah.
Shirley's asking if it's harder to find jobs during the winter season. Well, since you want to be a barista, honestly, I want my hot drink in winter and in summer, so I don't think it's going to be much harder. But no, it's easy to find jobs anytime in New Zealand. We have a very popular video on how to quickly find a job in New Zealand. Check it out. We put all our knowledge about that right in this video, so that's going to be quite helpful. And AliExpress is saying, okay, thanks a lot. If you want to tell us a little bit more about what you want to do, that would be really helpful to be able to help you a little bit more. But just give us some information. Margarita Mama saying that those hotels were on top of my list so far. Well, look at that. Great mind thinks alike. Look at us, Margarita Mama. We're connecting right here. I would for sure check out all those other videos. Mahalo. Thank you very much. Mahalo is thank you. Oh, that's cool. I learned one today.
Yeah.
Mahalo. I like it. All right. So check out the website, BackpackerGuide.NZ, and click on the links, and you'll be able to find all the information you want, as well as all our favorite things to do in Wellington. Because if you're going to be in Wellington for in June, you're going to want to actually know what we do, because since the weather is going to be so changeable, you're going to want to have a backup activity as well. So that's something that we tell people all the time. If you travel in winter in New Zealand, every single day you make your little plan. You say, okay, on the first day I'm going to do this, on the second day I'm going to do that. Well, what we always advise you is have a backup plan. So if the first day you want to go to Zealandia, which is absolutely amazing, it's a natural park, it's wonderful.
You definitely go there.
You absolutely want to go there. Well, on the other side, you're going to put Te Papa Museum, which is an amazing museum, and you definitely need to visit. So if on the first day it's raining, you don't have to change all your plan too much. You just switch Te Papa, you put it on there, and then the next day you do that. So make sure to actually have a backup plan, just because of that. And also, you're from Hawaii, so you probably are not going to be as used to the cold weather as we are. So, the rain jacket will help cut the wind and keep you warm. Anyhow, what else do we have in the live chat? I think that's pretty it. If you guys have some extra questions on the live chat, go for it. But in the meantime, we're going to go. We still have some questions that you guys send us throughout the whole week. All right. So do you want to read this one from Raul?
Raul, okay. So Raul on Facebook asked. He asked. Okay, let's start again. Okay. So Raul on Facebook asked, hey, Laura and Robin, I'm coming with my 3 kids and wife in August. Any tips for traveling with kids in New Zealand, please?
Right, first things first, congratulations on having a wife and 3 kids. You're going to have a hell of a holiday. No, I'm joking. It's going to be a blast. It's always awesome travel with kids. It's just that, and you're correct to ask, usually you need a little bit more preparation for that. And usually need to keep more things in mind. To be fair, I mean, when we do write articles about helping you guys, travel with kids or with friends and this and that, we always find out that actually traveling with kids and family is sometimes even easier than traveling with a group of friends because your kids kind of have to do what you tell them to. I mean, you make the itinerary and everybody follows this itinerary. If you travel with a bunch of mates, they're not happy with the itinerary, they actually can and will stray off and go wherever they want, and then that makes the whole organization much harder. So to be fair, traveling with kids is actually quite cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So what we did for you is that we wrote down basically a bunch of tips that we think are extremely important for people traveling with kids. There is a list of, I don't know, probably about 20. So let's go through that and we'll give you a bit of an insight of each of them. Do you want me to get started? Or
I'll get started.
Okay, cool.
So if you are traveling as a family, just because family rooms are a little bit more scarce in comparison to, for instance, just double rooms or dorm rooms, then it is a good idea to book early. Make your itinerary and try and book as early as possible, really, to get family rooms around the country. Alternatively, you could hire a big motorhome so you don't have to worry about booking family rooms, but maybe with 3 kids that would be a little bit chaotic. I'm not sure. It depends what sort of family you are, I guess. Another tip I would give is to search for family deals. Pretty much all the tours in New Zealand have some sort of family offer. They usually have, like an offer for one person alone, and then they have a family offer, and that's usually a little bit less than if you were to pay for just, 5 people individually. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Or if it's not obvious, always just ask, do you have any family rates? Do you want to go on with that?
So the next one is sunscreen. So we always talk about the sun in New Zealand. There is a hole in the ozone layer right above New Zealand, making New Zealand one of the country with the highest rate of skin cancer, just because there is no protection between your skin and the sun. For this reason, you need sunscreen, any time of the year, especially for kids which have a much more sensitive skin. So we advise you to get some eco-friendly sunscreen, because they're usually much better for your kids' skin. You don't straight away want to put a bunch of chemical in there. So make sure to put some eco-friendly sunscreen there. On the same kind of train of thought right here, there are some areas of New Zealand with a lot of sandflies. Now, sandflies are those tiny mosquitoes which are close to a lot of bodies of water. Now, as an adult, a lot of people complain about it, but I think it's fine. It's a few bites and it's totally okay. But for kids, it may be way worse, and the kid which is itching everywhere is not going to be pleasant to travel with. That's for sure. So sending insect repellents, and something I will strongly advise to go for a natural one, because it's very famous that the DEET, this component in insect repellent, is actually really bad and cancerous and everything. And so it is present in most chemical insect repellents. We found that some of the natural ones, like the stick or all those kind of things, work absolutely wonderfully. So go for insect repellent for sure. Do you want to take it over?
Yeah, another thing that you can do is pick parent roles. So by this, I mean basically when you obviously when you're going on holiday, you're in a new country, it's going to be a little bit stressful, not only for you guys as parents trying to sort of figure out how the supermarkets work here, and all the different sort of day-to-day things are going to be a lot harder than usual. But on top of that, when you have kids to look after, it can get a lot more stressful than, for instance, just going to the supermarket back home. So if you sort of decide some roles when you're going out to each place between the 2 parents, so one person keeps an eye on the kids, make sure they're entertained, and the other person sort of works out how this works, or where they need to go with the directions next to the next destination they're heading to, or what they need to buy from the supermarket, or what they should be getting, what's going to be suitable for the kids, for instance. If you both have your own roles and sort of decide that with a plan before you go and do each activity, or go and do some sort of, I keep using the supermarket idea because it's the only thing I can think of right now, but yeah, having those sort of roles planned makes it a lot less stressful and go a lot less smoothly as well. Another way you can make things go a lot more smoothly and keep the kids entertained is to give them a camera. You can give them just a little cheap camera so that they can be taking photos of all the amazing things they get to see in New Zealand, and that's a really good way to get them sort of engaged in the trip and just really like enjoying their holidays.
And now for the next one, I don't know how old are your kids, but you want to pack enough nappies. Not packing from home, you are definitely able to buy nappies in New Zealand supermarkets, but when you're on the road, it's always handy to have them right here because there are a few places where you may not find supermarkets. And in the same vein, you're going to want to have all the accessories that you need, maybe the portable sterilizer. You're definitely going to want a bag that you're going to be able to contain all the dirty nappies without smelling too bad in the car, that's for sure. So yeah, and you're gonna want to have a first aid kit which has all the things that you need for your kids. So make sure that you keep in mind that you pack all the stuff that you're gonna need for your kids. And again, the nappies, you can definitely buy them wherever you are in New Zealand. Now, obviously, I mean, it's a road trip. You want some snacks and you want some games. For the snacks, try to keep them natural. I mean, from a couple of our friends actually told us that they switched from chocolate and candies to some natural kind of nuts and snacks like that, and they found that the kids didn't have the sugar rush as much, so that was a bit easier. And some games, so games that you can play in the car to keep them entertained, and some games that you can keep you can play with them when you're at the hotel or something like that. Or when you're at the campsite when there's no TV or anything like that. So make sure there's something that you can interact with, so board games, those kind of things. Have a couple of options that are pretty good. Now, another thing that is really important when you are traveling anywhere with kids is you tell them a little bit about the destination. Even before you arrive in New Zealand, explain to them where is New Zealand, use a map, try to get them to understand the whole thing, because, well, for kids, it's much harder to comprehend that you're traveling that many kilometers or that many miles away from home, and why are things so different. So use that as a educational and growing experience. I think that would be pretty important.
Yeah.
Do you want to take over?
Yeah. So something that a lot of parents overlook is insurance for their kids. You can actually get full family insurance. You don't just need to specifically insure yourself, but there are actually some insurance companies that include kids on your insurance for free. So make sure you just dive into that and make sure you get the right policy that is going to insure your whole family. Another really cool accessory that I've seen a lot of people using in New Zealand are some travel prams, which they fold up super small and they are pretty ideal if you are traveling with a baby. Also, when you're booking your flight to New Zealand, you can actually book seats with a bassinet so that you can, obviously, if you're traveling with a baby, you actually get a lot of space in front of your seat, and then they have like a little cot which they put in front of you, and it's actually free to request this and get this sort of seat, but they do have limited seats, so make sure that you book that as soon as you book your plane ticket, see if there is a bassinet seat available. So when you are in New Zealand and you are in, when you get to a new town or a new sort of maybe a reserve or a park or something like that, always plan a meeting point, just so, in case someone gets lost or goes astray, always plan a meeting point so you can all get back together. And another way to not lose your kids when you're traveling in New Zealand is to get one of those really nifty little child locators, yep, which are little GPS locators. You can buy them off Amazon, for instance, and they just can clip onto your child's backpack, or even a loop on their jeans pocket or something, and then you could just track them on your phone if anything crazy should happen, like you lose them.
All right, now kids food, obviously you'll be able to find all babies and kids food in almost every supermarket around New Zealand, so there's no need to panic too much about that. Almost every single restaurant will have a kids menu, so make sure you ask for it, because they don't necessarily just give it to you straight away. You'll find out in New Zealand restaurant you have to ask for everything. If you want water, you've got to ask for it. Yeah. If you are breastfeeding, it is totally okay to breastfeed in public in New Zealand. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You're totally fine with that. And if you are boarding any boats, buses, car, tools, kayak, canoes, wakas, whatever you are boarding, make sure that the kids are boarding first and you board second, just so you make sure that you can count how many little heads you have with you. So that's basically our tips for traveling around New Zealand with kids. There is a lot of them which are common sense, but maybe we mentioned a couple of things that you were like, gosh, I didn't think of that. So So I hope that this helped. If you do find that useful, like and subscribe. We are here to help every single week. All right. Now I'm going to go. It's almost the end of this video. So if you do guys have any questions, make sure to type them in the live chat right now. I'm going to go over every questions that we just received. So Adil Mula says, hi guys, are the pod hostels in New Zealand wheelchair accessible? I am pretty sure that the Juicy's pod hostel are wheelchair accessible. I think that the Tahuna pods in Queenstown is, but yeah, you obviously have to mention that you need wheelchair access. So they give you the bottom ones. But
just so you know, pod hostels aren't the most sort of common type of hostels in New Zealand.
There's only a handful of them. You know, we have a video actually about that. So check that out. So there's only a handful of them. Yeah.
So the ones that we know of, the very select few, because like I said, there's not that many. The ones that we know of, they are wheelchair accessible. They're all on one level. There's not that many buildings in New Zealand where they have stairs or lifts, especially like hostels and stuff. So so it's all usually on the same floor. So that makes it a lot more easier. And they do, like, obviously hostels do try to keep up to standards, which is good for mobility and stuff like that. So
you should be good with that. Okay, Margarita Mama says, good idea on the backup plan. In Hawaii we used to the rain but not the cold. You bet. It is pretty cold here in winter when it rains. I was wondering if there is any festival or cool event in June that Wellington is known for. What for that we must do. In June, I think there is the International Film Festival in Wellington.
Is that?
So that's quite cool, but it's the International Film Festival. It's not really a New Zealand kind of thing to do, so I wouldn't plan around that. But there is really a lot of must-dos in Wellington, and we have all of that on BackpackerGuide.NZ. So just go on the website and find the must-dos in Wellington.
If there are any, we will have them on an article on BackpackerGuide.NZ, which if you just go into the search bar and type what's going on, we have an article which is New Zealand events, what's going on, and this displays like basically all the annual events, the stuff that happens every single year. And if there is something going on in Wellington, and that does happen every year, we'll have it listed on there. But June, again, it is the first month of winter, so you're less likely to find sort of outdoor festivals. You're less likely to find all that sort of thing. That's not really what happens in June, but you might be surprised. They do have some cultural events, like Wellington on a Plate is one of them, where it's like a foodie sort of festival. I know, but it's like they do have all those sort of things going on, so you might be surprised.
All right, Grant, good morning. How are you doing? Nice to see you again. Michael Mariano, guess what? He says aloha. Michael, you forgot the shaka hand right here. Come on. I can't even tell if it's you or not if I don't see the shaka hand. What is going on? All right. And Margarita Mama says, we need to catch a train from Wellington to our next destination. Do we need to buy the ticket ahead of time, or is it fine to buy on that day? We never traveled by train before. I'm guessing if you're in Wellington, you're taking the train to go to Auckland. I mean, you have to go up. So yes, you definitely need to buy the ticket in advance.
Yeah, if you are buying that ticket on the Northern Explorer, that train, because there is only one long sort of route, there's a lot of small trains.
Tell us if you're wrong, by the way, if we're wrong. Tell us where you're going, basically.
But if you take that Northern Explorer train up the North Island, then you should book that in advance, because the earlier you book it, the cheaper the tickets will be. As for the small sort of commuter trains, you can definitely buy those on the day, and they're always the same price.
Yeah, so if you're taking just the suburb train from one suburb to the other in Wellington, like you're going to Upper Hutt or even to Martin Boru.
Even the Kapiti Coast, I think, has some trains going up there. If it's just within the Wellington district, then you don't need to book that in advance. You just rock up, buy your ticket, and get on the train.
And to be fair, I mean, she's coming in June. I think that you could get away with buying the Northern Explorer on the day, but might as well just book in advance just to be safe, right? because you only need a couple of big buses that show up and they plan you the tour. And
exactly. I would still try and book in advance. Yeah,
definitely. All right, and then she's going to Masterton. Okay, so if you're going to Masterton, you definitely don't need to book it in advance.
Yeah, that's one of the commuter trains.
Yeah, so that's one of the commuter trains. Just rock up in the morning and just buy your ticket and you're good. You do not need to book this one in advance. Grant was saying that for the Wellington inner train, you don't need to book it in advance. So Grant is right. Adil say thank you. Michael says I know. Oh, Steve didn't give me the shake hand, Michael. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, Margarita Mama did.
Yeah,
she's
honestly.
clearly more from Hawaii than you are.
Yeah, come on. I think Michael has been lying to us from the whole.
Yeah.
He's from Alaska. He's lying to us like why? He's like shivering cold. Anyway. Anyway, on that note, thank you very much for joining us for an awesome live session. It was really cool to hang out with you guys. The weather seems to be clearing out a little bit, so we may be going out for a hike. If you guys have any questions of your own and you missed out this live session, make sure to put your comments your questions in the comments below so we can print them in and have them with us next week. Now, speaking of next week, just a quick reminder that we are going to be meeting with you guys on the 7th in Auckland. So there's an event on our Facebook page where at 7 p.m. on the 7th, we're meeting you at the Bluestone Room for a beer. If you guys feel like joining us for a beer and chit-chatting with us in person, that can be quite fun.
Face-to-face Q&A, maybe?
What? No, I'm having a beer right here. I am not answering any question.
People are going to ask us questions.
Yeah, fine, I'll answer some questions. But I cannot guarantee any of my answers since I'm going to have beers or shots. So here you go. After the 5th question, I'm taking a shot. Anyway, so join us then. That'd be fun. So for all the information, just head to Facebook, find BackpackerGuide.NZ there and click on events. And there's only one event because we don't do that often. That's the first time that we're doing that. And don't miss out. All right, thank you very much for joining us, guys, and see you next week. Bye-bye.